Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Foothill Paint Fabrication. Well, the Chevelle is all done and out of the shop. I'm really happy about that. I just talked to John, the owner, yesterday, as a matter of fact. He's loving the car. His wife Suzanne drove it. She loves it. She used to have a Muncie 4-speed in her El Camino, so she's really getting nostalgic about driving that car, which is great. I'm glad they're going to be able to enjoy it and just really have a lot of fun in that car. So I cleaned up the shop and I was getting all ready to get to work on that hood for that 50 Chevy and get that job finished off. And I thought, you know what? I want to go fishing first. Did a little work on the old Evinrude. Want to take it up to a lake nearby and give it a little test run, catch a little fish. So me and my buddy Dave were heading up the hill yesterday, and a deer ran out and I hit it, and it jacked up the truck pretty good. So let's get in here close and see what kind of damage that thing did to my truck. When the deer hit, the one good thing about this, the airbag did not go off. If the airbag had gone off, I would have just called my insurance company, but I can fix this for less than my deductible, so it's not going to be that big a deal. So the fender itself, you can see the little winglet here. It's popped out, but it's not damaged. The fender is up and away, so you can see right here, it's popped out from the door. And unfortunately, the worst damage is right here. So the deer spun around, tumbling, and it hit right here, and it caved this in. You can see some deer here right there, and it pushed the fender into the door, but it did not chip the door. So we're good there. So we gotta pull this back out so I can open the door. The door cannot be opened right now. And then it tumbled around, and it put a little dent right here. So I'm going to try some paintless dent on that and see if we can get that out. If not, I'll fix it, the conventional way. So the first thing we need to do, we can't get this fender off. The fender needs to come off so I can work on it. We have to get the door open to get that fender off. So we're going to have to pull that away from the door and then see if we can get the door open, and then we can remove the fender and then see where we stand. So let's get to work on getting this stuff off here. Okay, I've just found a piece of steel, I don't know, some of my gate or something. So I've got it bolted to the one of the holes in the fender, and I put a ratchet strap, just kind of wrapped it around the disc brake there and clamped it on the frame. So I've got a little bit of pressure on it, not a lot. I just don't want it to spring back into the door when I get these two bolts loose. Oh, there we go. Looks like it's pulled away. There we go. Whew. So what we're going to do is try to pull the dent out this way, all right? So let me grab some stuff and we'll see what we can do with this thing. Okay, let's see what happens here. So now that puckered back out, but I can tap that in. That's no problem. We're going to ignore that for now. I'm just going to keep pushing up. Let's bring that up. Then we need to switch over and bring the low spot right here out. So I'm going to move everything over and we'll do the same thing, little by little. Okay, that's looking a lot better. We've got a kink right there. Once I push that out and drive that back down, it should stay up. And this side over here, just swing you around. So this side right here, this is where the paint, it kinks so much that the paint popped. So we need to tap that down while we're pushing up on the other side, but it's already starting to come together pretty nicely right here. So let me tap on that a little bit, and we're going to put a little more pressure on these clamps. We'll see if this wants to start staying where we want it. Now, I don't have a dolly or anything back there. I'm just going to use my hand. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to release that and let it go. And I can actually tell by the sound and how it feels when I'm tapping on it. So I want to bring some more up on the back side and and see if we can't get that a little bit sweeter, and then we can take all this out of the way and see where we're stand. Okay, let's do a little more squeezing. You can see the wrinkle right there. That came out pretty nicely. I want to tap on that high spot right there a little bit. So the sheet metal goes and then up and back down. So we want to tap on that just a little. Okay, it's starting to look pretty good. We got a lot of it out. I'm going to pull it down and do this little spot right here. And then we're going to have to go beyond. We're going to push it back a little farther than we want. So when it springs back, it'll stay where we want it. So let me move this over. I'm going to bust that out real quick. And once I get all this out of the way, I'll bring you back. I'm going to try to get these creases out. And then we're going to start manipulating it with my hands. And then we'll see where we're at. And then hopefully we can get this thing halfway straight, and I'll put it back on the truck and just to see how the fit and the curves and everything are lining up and the mounting locations, and then we'll start to finish it off once I know it's in the right shape, because I could get this right, but it could have a slight twist to it and I wouldn't be aware of that. So I want to make sure I get it, you know, straight, roughed out, and then I'll test fit it on the truck, since, you know, it's so thin right here, and this is pretty flimsy anyways. I want to make sure it's going to sit right where it belongs, and then I can start worrying about getting this you know, perfect, so we can get some body filler on it, get some primer on it, and then ultimately get some red and some clear on it. So let me flip this over, do some dollying, and then I'll bring it back. We'll see what it looks like. Okay, I got it fitted to the truck. I had to do quite a bit of work. I ended up bolting the whole fender onto the truck tightly, because there was a little bit of a twist in this that I needed to get out, and I needed to recurve this bottom a little bit. But I got this line that matches the door. I got that gap down good, and I got it matching really nicely. So it's fitting really well. You guys noticed I wrapped a towel around the top there. I've been chasing this thing around on this rack, and I almost dropped it about 4 times, and I had it flipped over, put a little scratch in the top. So I figured I'll just get an old towel, wrap it up, and just make my life that much easier. So if I get down at an angle here, I don't know if you guys can see, I've got the general shape worked out, and there's just a lot of little ripples and stuff that I need to hammer and dolly out. So that's going to be my next step, and it just takes time. You got to go really slow. And you know, luckily the paint's still on here, so you can see all that really easily. So you can see your high and low spots, and just take your time. Don't you know, just anvil away on that thing where you're actually smashing the metal between the dolly and the hammer. You want to work off, or if you're not sure, and you do like I do a lot of times, I'll put a block of wood up in there. I got a nice hard piece of cherry here, or oak, and then you can hammer right up against that. And that way you don't have to worry about you're stretching the metal. So I'm just going to pick away at this real slowly and try to get it as flat as possible. And then we're going to be get ready to grind all this paint off here, get a coat of body filler on it, and then rough it out, get some primer on it. Okay, I got it looking pretty good. I went ahead and blocked it out with some 80 grit, and as you can see, we're not bad here and here. We got a low spot right here. This is high where the kind of kink was, and I'm low around this area right here. So I need to bring those up, bring that up just a little bit, bring this down just a little bit, that down just a little bit, and then this isn't bad right here, because I can tell it just kind of nicked it. We're going to have to float this whole thing with some glazing putty or some body filler anyways. So other than that, it's starting to look really good. It's holding its shape real nice, no oil can in it, and I'm liking the way it looks. These lines for the door, luckily they stayed nice and true. It's got a little bit of hoop-de-doo right here. I think I can work that out, and it should look good. So I'm just going to keep pecking away at it, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to probably throw some body filler on it. Okay, so I was able to bring a couple of these spots up where it kind of rolls over right here. There's a body line that rolls right down through here, so I want to make sure that stays nice and straight. And I knocked some of these down, and you can tell the areas got larger because they went down and they're getting sanded more. So I blocked this out a couple of times, and it's actually feeling pretty good. So what I'm going to do, instead of using body filler, I'm going to use glazing putty, and I'm not going to grind all this paint away. It only chipped out in these areas right here, and then right here where the pucker was. So I'm going to remove the paint back with the 80 grit, real well. I've got a little tiny chip up here. I'm going to take care of that. And then what I'll do is I'll sand all these low spots. I'll sand this whole area with 80 grit. And then I'll take some 220 or 320 and sand up here just a little bit, just in case I get up on that a little bit with the glazing putty. And then we'll lay it on there. I'm going to call it a day, let it set up overnight. We'll come back in the morning and we'll sand it a little bit and see where we're at. Let that set up and we'll be back tomorrow, see what it looks like. Okay guys, I already got a head start this morning, roughed it down with some 80 grit and it's flattening out really nice. This spot popped up as a high spot, so I just took my pointing hammer and I just tapped on it really lightly with a board back behind it or my hand, just to try to get that back down. So it's working out really good. It may come back out a little high. I don't want to hit it too much. I want this filler to be as thin as possible. We got a little low spot here, a little low spot there that we're gonna have to fill again. Got this sweetened up real nice. We had that little low spot. I couldn't get that sheet metal to push all the way back to where it was perfect across here, so we had a little fill right there. And got a little low spot right there I want to fill. That's on the lip. That actually shows. So I'm going to mix up another batch here real quick, a little hot batch. We'll cover that up, that, and that. And then we'll set it out in the sun, let it bake for a little bit, and we'll come back and get that sanded up and see if we can't get this smoothed out a little bit more and get some primer on it. Okay, I got this smoothed out a lot better. I can't even feel that, even though you can see it. Once we get some primer on there, I think we'll be fine. If not, I'll tap it back down again and just be very careful and tap it very, very gently. So we've got it roughed out pretty nice, but we have a body line that comes around through here that is very, very faint. It's more pronounced right where this part starts to roll off. So it's about 3 inches here and it gets a little bit larger here. So I've got a pencil mark over here where it I can feel it through the tape. And so what we want to do is we want to make that a nice smooth line right there. So we're just going to take a little guide coating, dry guide coating, and we're going to rub it on here, just in this spot right here. And then I'm going to sand that and see if we can see where that line's going to be. So I'll sand on this side so we can tell the definite line between the two. So we can see the line, just a little bit of sanding real quick. So we can see the line, it's got a nice curve to it, and we got to tell if it's aiming right for this mark over here. This is it's a very faint line up here. It's obviously more pronounced down at the bottom here. We just don't want a ripple in our body line. So you can see, if you look closely, we've got a dip right here where the line isn't nice and smooth. Then it pulls away here, which isn't bad. So this line is out here. So what I want is I want this line to be nice and crisp all the way through. And just a little more sanding like that. And the line starts to sweeten up. So you can tell we've got a little bit better line, but it drifts away right here. But according to what I can feel, this line needs to go this way a little bit more. So if I sand on this side more, right up in here, it's going to push it that way. If we need to bring it this way, then we'll sand on that side. So I want to try to work this out here a little bit. And then we've got the body line coming in really nice. So I'm going to keep doing that. I'll work down here. This is, I know I can see the body line here and feel it. So we got a lump right here. I need to sand on this side and bring that over. So I'm just going to keep fiddling with this. Now we're going to do this again in prime, but I want to rough it in the filler stage. I don't want to be sanding through, and hitting steel trying to get this line roughed in. So if I have to do any more filling or rough sanding, I want to do it right now. And then once we get to prime, all we're basically doing is getting rid of sand scratches and smoothing out some small spots. So I'm going to finish sanding this up, and then we'll see how this line turns out. Okay, you guys, I'm sure you guys can see we got a nice smooth line right here. Coming right through here. It's got a nice arc to it, matching the fender over here, and it ends up right over here on my mark. So I know I've got it roughed in real nice. I could have probably left the camera running. It took like 3 minutes. I just re-guide coated it, and I sanded from this side at angles, and then I just brought that right up to that, and so I get a nice smooth line. So everything's looking really good. So the next step is to go ahead and sand all this with a little bit smoother sandpaper, probably 320. I have this tape pushed in really tight because I didn't want 80 grit sand scratches creeping up and this patch getting bigger and bigger. So I want to keep it as small as possible. So we'll sand all this with some 320. I'll peel this tape back. Then we'll scuff up here a little bit real lightly. And then we'll shoot some primer on this thing. Okay, I got it masked off. You can see the tape. I've got it rolled up here. And what'll happen is when I'm spraying, if you just mask a straight line, it's going to build up there, and then you're going to have a line underneath. It's going to show. So, but if you roll the tape back like this, the air can't carry the primer underneath there, and it kind of feathers it out for you. So, and I did that on both sides. So when the air hits it, it's going to kind of roll right through there, and it's not going to put a direct, tape line. So we got to prime here. I'm going to put a few coats on here. I'm using that Speed Prime. It's a single component primer. It's not very high build, so I don't know how many coats I'll put on here. I'll put one on and see how it looks, and then I'll decide what I need to do. I may put more in this area and then just a little bit on the edges. So we'll see. I'm going to throw my respirator on here, turn the fan on, and put some coats on this thing. Okay, looking at it, well, before it flashes off all the way, I can see my body line right here, and it looks really good. Might be able to sweeten that up with the primer. Those two little high spots, I can see them in there, so that could be a problem. So I'm going to throw some extra primer on there, and I can see sand scratches. I got some 80 grit sand scratches over here, not too much over here. So I'm going to lay it on, and we'll just keep letting it flash off, putting primer on it, flash off, put another coat, and until I feel like there's going to be enough on there for me to sand off. If I have to, hit it again after I sand, that's fine. But for right now, the repair actually looks really good, really good. Okay, guys, I got the primer all sanded up, so it's ready to spray. So I sanded it with some 240, then 320. Kind of blocked out that bad spot there and got everything flattened out. Used some dry guide coat. You've seen me do it before. So it's looking pretty good. I think this body line right here is going to come out really nice. Maybe not perfect, but pretty nice. And then I went ahead and sanded down here. I'm going to spray red all the way around here, and then I'm just going to blend it in up here a little bit, and then we're going to shoot clear up in here. So this whole area has been sanded with 1500, the clear. Then I've got it masked off. So we're about ready to shoot some base coat on here. So let me back the camera away a little bit, and we'll get the gun going and get some red on this thing. Okay, I got it blown off, tacked off, blown off again. And right off the bat, we're just going to get the gray to turn red. And then I'm going to spray this direction to try to keep the red from coming up here and getting dry spray on it. So I'm going to try to wet it out going this way. I've got a little bit of sealer underneath here I got to spray, and of course I got to do this edge right here. So I'm just going to concentrate on getting the gray turned red first. Okay, I'm going to let that flash off a little bit. I'm going to add a little more reducer to the base coat to thin it out a little more. And then I'm going to get that to blend in up here a little bit. I can see through the red in a few spots, so I want to get another coat on, but we only want to spray enough to cover. So once I'm confident that that gray won't show through, then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to add a little more reducer to the base coat, and then we're going to let that flash off a little bit and hit it again. Okay, it's flashed off good enough. I got a little light spot right here, and then I want to just hit the whole thing again, and then we'll put a light on it, see how it looks. Yeah, that looks real good. I don't see any problems. Just put enough color on to cover. Now, normally on, you know, if you're doing this professionally, the whole panel would have been scuffed, and then you would spray what's called a clear base. It's basically the same as this red, but it's clear. And then you spray the whole panel. Then you come in with your color, and then you spray up to it or onto it, and what happens is that keeps dry spray from forming. So when you're spraying metallics on a lot of these new modern colors, this is solid, it doesn't really matter, but the metallics, when they lay down dry right in this area on dry spray, they don't lay down properly, and then you can see the edge of the blend. The color may look perfect here, and it may look perfect here, but right in this area, the metallics and the pigments didn't lay down properly because it was too dry. So what that clear base does, it allows you to spray into a wet base, and then it just melds together and disappears. Then when you spray your clear over the whole panel, you can't see the clear base because it was clear. And then that solves that problem. In this case, this is my truck. I can do whatever I want. I've done it like this before. When I spray the clear on, we're going to be able to tell, because the idea is I want to spray clear over this and then color sand this right here, and then color sand down to here, and then polish the whole thing, and hopefully this clear line won't show. So when it comes time for that, I'm going to probably move this tape back a little bit. I sprayed up a little bit farther than I wanted to, but it should be okay. Even if I just spray clear up to here, it's going to be fine. But right here I can tell I have almost no dry spray. In fact, it looks really good. It's just very, very well blended in, and that's because I sprayed this direction. I pointed the gun this direction, and I made the material go that way. What happens is that fine mist that doesn't hit the vehicle or the panel, it tends to dry right over here. So I think it's going to look good. I guess the proof will be in the pudding. So we're going to let this flash off probably 30-45 minutes, and then we're going to mix up some clear and put it on here. Okay, it's been about an hour. I've tacked it off really well. There was really no dry spray on it at all. It's such a small panel, it's really easy to prevent it. But I tacked it off and blew it off again. So we're ready to go. I'm not going to move the tape up. I'm just going to start spraying right here, work our way down, get a full wet coat on it, and then get another coat on it, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, we're going to let this flash off a little bit, and then I'm going to hit it again. I'll work just a little bit higher. The color was right here, so I have enough room to sand and feather that out and get the polish on there. Normally, if you have a body line, you can spray mask up to the top of the body line, and you can hide that blend in, and you don't have to clear the whole panel. There is no body line here, so I'm just going to fake it. Hopefully it looks good. So the color looks good. That's the original color I got when I first bought the truck to paint the grill. And my buddy at the paint store, he knows what he's doing, so I'm pretty confident it's going to match. Fingers crossed on that. It is kind of almost like a butt match. I'm not really blending that red into the other red to get it to disappear. So let's let it flash up a couple of minutes, and then we'll put another coat on it. Okay, it's flashed off. Let's get another coat on this thing. Okay, it's looking really good. I'm really happy the way it's looking. There's a few specks of dust or dirt in it. No big deal. We'll polish those out, sand them and polish them out. I've got a little bit left in the gun. I made a little tiny batch of clear, but I've got enough for a third coat, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on there. I'm not going to film that. So tomorrow we're going to color sand this if it's ready, and then we'll go ahead and polish it. Hopefully it'll be ready to put back on the truck. Okay guys, I'll drive, let it sit out in the sun for a while. Put it out yesterday once it wasn't tacky anymore. And I put it out for about 3 or 4 hours this morning out in the sun. It should be ready to sand and polish. Now here, right here is where the red stopped that I sprayed. And then this is the part I scuffed, and then I had the tape right here. I probably should have moved that tape back, but I didn't. So I got a little line there. I'm going to sand that out. So to tell if the color matches, and it looks pretty good, let's put a little water on here on that sanded spot. You can tell it looks the same color, so we'll find out. So let's get to wet sanding this and get it polished. Okay, the spot we want to focus on first is right here. I want to sand this area, and then I want to get this line out here, and that's really on me. I should have moved that tape back, but it's not that thick right there. It's kind of a dry spray area. So I'm going to take some 1500 just with my sanding pad here, and I'm just going to focus on this side of the line. Now there's a body line right here, so I have to be mindful of that. And we've got some nubbins and stuff in the clear here, so I'm not going to sand down here too much. We're going to sand until those are gone, but I want to get this, this line broke back down. So when I polish, it's nice and smooth. It's already starting to come out right there. So I'm just going to spend a few moments doing this, and then we're going to get over the whole thing and get the polisher out. So just like that, that line came out, so that's good. Let me get the squeegee on there. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but there's just the hint of the line right there. So I'm going to keep sanding that. I need to be careful the factory clear isn't that thick, and I already sanded it with some 1500 just to scuff it. So I'm going to sand that till I can't see anything, until the line actually starts to wander back and forth a little bit. And then I'm going to do this side, and we'll get all the little nubbins out of here, and we'll be about ready to get the polisher out. So I'm going to polish up to here a little bit, and then when we do the next step, I'll go up a little bit higher, try to blend the sheen, because the factory is not polished, and I don't want to just have one polished fender. So we're going to take care of this, and that's about it. So I've got the 5-inch wheel on the polisher. I got the number 1 right here. And this clear was sprayed less than 24 hours ago, so it's still kind of soft, so it'll probably polish really quick. And I don't want to knock this thing on the ground, so I'm going to take it easy. It's on the rack, but it could fall off. And I'll go slow right here, and I want to concentrate on this clear blend line right here first, and we're going to see how it looks before we go any farther. I can see just a hint of it, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. So let me grab a towel, wipe this off, and we'll get this polished up here real quick with the number 1. Then we'll switch to number 2 and see how it looks when it's all done. Okay, it's looking really good. The color match is perfect. I can't tell the difference. Once we get it out in the sun, we might be able to see it. So let's get some number 2 on here and get this area right here. I only sanded to about there, but I want to polish up there a little bit. Switch pads to the finer pad. Kind of bump over that edge a little bit. Same thing on this side. Just kind of bump over it. First part of this towel, let's see how it looks. Boy, that's looking really nice, really nice. All right, I'm gonna finish this up down here on this end, and then I'm gonna bring you in really close, let you look at it. Maybe we'll take it out in the sun and take a look at it too, and see how we did. But the color match is looking really good. I'm really happy about that, and that color, or the clear blend line, is almost invisible underneath these LED lights, so we'll see how it looks in the sun at an angle as the Fender's standing up. So I'm gonna finish this up real quick, and then we'll get this thing all cleaned up and take a look at it. If I didn't know I made the repair, I wouldn't be able to see it, and that's a good thing. So it's looking really good. Really happy with the way it's turned out. The color is just spot on. My buddy at the paint store, he really knows what he's doing, although he mixed it right to the formula. But I take good care of the truck. You know, everybody says red fades fast, but if you take care of them, it doesn't. It doesn't fade any faster than anything else. You just take care of it. All right, let's roll the truck back in here and get this fender on. Okay, about ready to put this fender back on. I'll get the fender on first. I've got to put a little urethane adhesive right here where I cut that foam. Other than that, I'm gonna pop this on, hopefully without scratching anything. And then we'll get the inner fender well in, get the little trim piece on, make sure everything's lined up, and we'll be about done. So I'm gonna time lapse through this real quick, and hopefully it goes well. Okay, that's that. All we got to do is put some trim pieces on. It's looking real good. All right, let's see if we can get this on. A lot of these trim pieces are almost like Legos. Okay, all back together. Bumpers on, fenders on, body lines all still look fantastic like they do anyways. Everything's lining up really nicely. See the door line there. Over here. Everything looks good. Just like it did before. Can't even see the color difference. Can't see the blend line, nothing. So I'm really happy. I think the truck deserves a really nice bath and a good detailing though. So I think tomorrow morning, that's what it's going to get. Okay guys, that pretty much wraps up this video on repairing the damage from the deer attack on my truck. We got the used bumper on the front. It's got a few scratches in it. I'm kind of particular, so I don't know how much that's going to bug me. But we got the fender repaired. Got the color match is spot on. You can't see the clear blend. I'm thrilled with the way it looks, so I'm really happy about that. We still got some dents in the bottom of the door. I'm not going to do that on this video. I bought that little paintless dent kit, and maybe I'll shoot another video on that. Be a little interesting and see how it works out. If I can't get them out right, I can always just repair it like I did the fender. So thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint Fabrication. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and mash that bell icon so you get notifications every time I release a new video. We'll see you on the next one.